Entering the Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, Farmers Insurance Open. Picks, the research, the modeling, jumping into everything, the research tools that you need to hopefully pick a winner at Torrey Pines this week. Remember to smash the like button and sub to the channel while you're here. My walkthrough will be powered by fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off any of the packages, and you're going to be seeing a new look at Fantasy National very soon, and you'll be able to see it on the show as I have the beta version of what's going on and try to walk through that as I do my research this week to try to make everything a bit more convenient, plus some new tools to be added times over the next few months as well. Final time that we're probably going to see the Farmers Insurance Open for Torrey Pines, because it looks like Farmers Insurance is leaving the golf game. Not shocking, to tell you the truth, but here we are. And this is going to set off probably the best 4-week stretch in golf all season long. I, for a while, worried that Farmers was going to be the tournament that got left by the wayside with an elevated event moving to Pebble Beach. Because normally, during this 4-week run where you have Farmers, Pebble, Waste Management, then Tigers tournament at Riviera, everyone just skips Pebble Beach. So most people play the Farmers, not everyone, because it's not a designated event. You don't have to show up, but then everyone skips Pebble. It was a designated event last year, so everyone played in Phoenix, but a lot of players play in Phoenix anyway to begin with, and then everyone, because it's a designated event, plays at Riviera. So now you're obligated essentially to play Pebble Beach and Riviera. But taking a look at the field this time around, it's really good. And the field in Phoenix, although it is not a designated event, is still quite strong based on the early commitments. Like, you're still going to have Scheffler and Xander and Victor. I mean, just having those three alone in a tournament, along with everyone from the next few levels down that comes along with them, makes that a really good tournament. So this is going to be an awesome stretch. Then we go to Mexico, and maybe Finau is playing. I think Finau is the only guy in the world playing in that tournament, which is great because we have those futures on him to win at 18-1. And when that opens, he might be 3-1, depending on how this field looks. But I am jazzed up for the next 4 weeks. Now, the biggest thing you need to know about this tournament, besides taking bombers, although that may or may not be a misnomer once we dig into the research, it starts on Wednesday to Saturday. Golf does not want to go head-to-head with the championship games in football that appear on Sunday. Now, hear me out for a second. Football happens every Sunday during January, right? I as someone who covers football, I know. You might not know that, but I know that because I am a professional football watcher and talker about her. Why don't we just play Wednesday through Saturday at every tournament in January, and then you have the off week, it's Pebble Beach. That's when you make the shift back to Sunday, because it actually works in golf's favor for Phoenix that it ends on a Sunday, because it is the official sporting lead-in to the Super Bowl. They make damn sure that Phoenix is done. Even if they schedule in a playoff time, 3 holes of a playoff, to make sure it is done before the Super Bowl starts. And you might say, well, during January, the NFL runs games on Saturday along with Sunday. Now, this is true. But I'm a business owner. I look at competition sometimes, and I think about what works best for me. Is it better to compete with 1 day or 2 days? And if I think, it's easier for me to compete with 1 day and not 2 days, I would take that route. They don't seem to want to do that. Like the Sony Open field last week, the conclusion, the final hour and a half was amazing. It was really good. Me and 78 of you watched it last week. It was going head-to-head with football. And it would have went head-to-head with football on Saturday. I understand that. But maybe some of the Friday round, you could have got more into it as well. And the stuff is appearing in prime time because it's on the West Coast. Anyway, it makes no sense to me that this is the only one that they do Wednesday through Saturday. But keep that in mind, because people they miss one-and-done picks every year. They don't submit DraftKings lineups. They forget to make bets. I'm telling you, Wednesday through Saturday. Spread the word, or don't. Now, spread the word. Listen, I wasn't going to win just because you're not playing anyway. But that's where we're standing with the Farmers Insurance Open, probably the last year of the Farmers. 13 of the past 15 winners of this event at Torrey Pines have had a previous top 10 in their career. The only two that didn't do it was John Rahm, who won in his first start at the Farmers Insurance Open, and then Scott Stallings out of nowhere ended up winning this event, and then he lost in a playoff the following year. I think that's the year that he was like roided out. He got like busted for PEDs. Dude's jacked. Even if you look at him now, dude loves the gym. But yeah, it was a great stretch. That was in like 2014 or something like that. Other than that, even a Luke List had finished T10 the year before he ended up winning. So, Patrick Cantlay's never finished inside the top 10. Let's just cross him off the list. I mean, it doesn't really work that way, but it's just odd that you've had to have that sort of experience at a course. And a lot of it has to do with the green complexes. We'll look and use one of the new tools at Fantasy National to dig into all of this. If you want the quicker version of this show, the newsletter is where that's at. I put that out with the Guess the Odds on sometime on Sunday after this show is recorded. And then Monday, the full column all appears in that free newsletter. So please do me a favor, sub to the Mayo Media newsletter on Substack. It's down in the description with the quick link. It's completely free to join. Please share it around. Tell some friends about it because I need to build up that newsletter. That's where my primary column is going to exist for the foreseeable future. People seem to like that column, but now they're finding it hard to find because you can't just Google Pat Mayo golf tournament and it pops up. It doesn't do that, so I need your help to spread it around. All right? Appreciate that. And subbing to the newsletter gets you a ballot to enter the draw for the Tambo giveaway. Now, Tambo may not be giving away any money. I have no idea how he's doing in the King of the Desert qualifier this week, but if he does qualify through this week, there's only 50 people left, top 15 move on. If he makes that final 15, the live final is in Phoenix, and he has agreed to give away 5% of his winnings if he finishes inside the top 3. Now, there's $500,000 to first prize, so he might be giving away $25,000. Sounds pretty good to 5 separate people, $5K a piece. And if you sub to the newsletter, that's one way that you can get a ballot into that draw. The other ways to get the ballot into the draw: subscribe, turn on auto downloads when you subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts for the Pat Mayo Experience. Then leave it a 5-star review. You can make up something nice or just rate it. Tell a friend about it. Pass it along. Maybe get double the entries, split the money. I don't know what you want to do. But those are the 3 ways from me that you can get yourself in that. And if you go to shipitnation.com, Tambo's site right now, and use code Mayo, he's giving away a free year to someone for the PGA product. So if you ever thought about getting into it, now would be the time to do it with code Mayo. All right? Let's talk about the course itself. Torrey Pines South is the primary course. This week, you may remember it from Tiger beating Rocco Mediate on a gimpy knee. Then winning the U.S. Open. Jon Rahm won the U.S. Open there not too long ago. Very iconic. I guess I wouldn't say this tournament made Tiger, but Tiger won it so many times. I think it was like 7 times. He won a U.S. Open here. It's synonymous with Tiger Woods. But Jon Rahm also, this course really made him a star. His first career win and his first career start at this course with an amazing, iconic putt on the 72nd hole from distance for eagle to win that tournament. Really vaulted him onto the map. He was like Aubert is at the moment. Like, man, this guy is going to be really good. And then boom. No, Jon Rahm is here. He's a real player. And then he gets his first major championship win in La Jolla at Torrey Pines South. 3 rounds, both weekend rounds, or not weekend rounds, the Friday and Saturday rounds. Rounds 3 and 4 will be at the South course, and then the players will alternate between the South and the North course between the first 2 days. The South course is almost 500 yards longer than the North course, so keep that in mind when you're trying to do showdown purposes. I'll talk about showdown here in a minute, but the North course is just easier than the South course. The South course has greens that, despite being Poana, are super fast. It's bent grass greens at the North course. So overall, when you take a look at Torrey Pines South, it's a par 72. There is shot tracker, so you get the shot tracker for 3 of the 4 rounds this week. 7,765 yards. The splits, in terms of DraftKings scoring, are not as drastic as the North course, but you shouldn't ignore it at the same time. Holes 8 through 10 are all easier than average, with number 9 being the 3rd easiest hole on the course, a 31.4% birdie or better rate. Those playing back to front get the 2nd easiest hole, number 18. That has almost a 37% birdie or better rate, but 17 owns a higher bogey rate than birdie rate, and number 1 has a bogey or worse rate that's nearly double that of the birdie or better number. So if you do want to try to play a streak at the South Course on the weekend, now, if you're playing rounds 1 or 2, you just target guys at the North Course. Make it simple on yourself and just don't try to parse through the ones that are there. But you want to play 1 through 18, not starting on number 10 and wrapping around at the South Course. The par 3 average distance is 208 yards. The 2 easier par 3s are on the front, holes 3 and number 8, both on the back. See more than twice as many golfers over par than under par. So the bogey or worse rate is more than double the birdie or better rate. We can just say birdie rate because there's not a ton of hole-in-ones going on these par 3s. The average par 4, 10 of them at the South Course, 457 yards. The 4 toughest holes on the course are all par 4. 7 of the 10 measure over 450 yards. And the par 5s is where you need to make it up. They're the 4 easiest holes on the course, all of them with a birdie or better rate over 30%. And then you have number 18, which is it's a legitimate swing. If you're Kyle Stanley and you drop 2 into the drink when you got a 2-stroke lead and Brandt Snedeker ends up winning, that can happen to you on number 18, but it has the 7th highest double or worse rate. That's at 2%. And that is the same as basically the eagle rate for the hole, which is also 2%. You know the hole. You need to hit the fairway off the tee so you can take a run at it. It's the one that Rahm eagled to win the tournament. The pin is usually tucked away at the front, and everything slopes down towards the water, including where the pin is at on that hole on Sunday. So most players end up hitting it over the ridge. Maybe you can get the ridge and get it to roll back on your second shot and generate an easier eagle opportunity. But the issue ends up becoming, because of the shaved off area at the front of the green where the pin is located, if you do lay up and you have too much spin on your wedges, then all of a sudden you're sucking the ball back into the water, and then you got to do it all over again. It happens every year, and it's just like, ooh. It's a bit devastating to watch a few times, and it can get a bit cringy. That's what happened to Kyle Stanley. Fortunately for Kyle Stanley, he played the next week in Phoenix. I think that was 2011, 2012, whenever it was. I just remember it very vividly because it was the year that Spencer Levine melted down in Phoenix. The following week, got the cacti stuck in his ass, and he started smoking cigs, just melting down on the back nine, and Kyle Stanley took that tournament away from him. Torrey Pines South, there's only one round there. You don't need to be too concerned about it, but 7,260 yards, bent grass greens. There is no shot tracker, limited cameras at that one, but they will follow around. They will follow around some of the bigger names once they get there. The par 3s average distance of 215 yards. You just hear all of the average distances of the par 3s between the two courses over 200 yards. 200-yard proximity is so key this week. It is ridiculous when you kind of take a look back over the years and the players that perform well from that specific bucket. These are 4 of the 6 toughest holes to birdie at the North Course, all under 9.5% birdie rate, including the toughest hole on the course, which is a 249-yarder. It's number 3, 4.5% birdie rate, 28% bogey or worse rate. Get through there, and you're probably going to score pretty well at the North Course. Shorter par 4s, obviously, when it's a course that is 500 yards shorter, the shorter your holes come in somewhere in play. The average is 426 yards on the 10 par 4s, and then the par 5s, the 4 easiest holes on the course, all holding a birdie or better percentage over 44%. Since the field alternates between the courses the first 2 days, just target bombers at the easier North Course for showdown purposes. Just make it easier on yourself. If your golfers can start on number 1 instead of hole number 10, it's a big advantage. There's a stretch of easier holes from 9 to 12. So having hole number 9 as a part of that rotation in DraftKings Showdown could be where you build up a streak. Now, 10 through 12, again, is easier. You can just go birdie, birdie, birdie. But if you start on number 10, maybe you're trying to shake off some rust, especially if it's a round 1 showdown that you might not have your game rolling at its highest capabilities on the very first hole of the day. Warming up to get into that range, I would prefer. I have no data to back that up, but that's just personally how I would want to do it. With larger greens and shorter holes, a green in regulation and scrambling percentage at the North Course were well above PGA Tour average. 3 of the par 5s on the North Course also generate more eagles than any of the par 5s on the South. So that is where you want to target when we get to showdown purposes for DraftKings. Very few markets actually have first round leader for both courses. For total courses, it's usually individually. But if for whatever reason you do find a site that has a split between first round, or no split between first round leader of North and South. Not to say that it can't come from the South. Guys can score really well at the South, but it's just easier at the North that you might be able to squeeze some value. That used to happen back in the day. I'm talking like 7-8 years ago when sites were first popping up, and it was mainly offshore. I mean, it was all offshores at that time. In America, in Canada, it was all gray zone anyway. And in Britain, of course, they were illegal. But now they've wised up a little bit. And as you saw this week, between the 3-course rotation at the Amex, you'll have first round leader for each of the individual courses. Expect the same this week, no matter where it is that you end up going at to bet. Let's mosey on over to fantasynational.com, fantasynational.com/Mayo, in order to get yourself 20% off any of the membership levels. You can see what the new redesign is going to start to look like. We still have the table version. Don't worry about that. I just wanted to show you. If you really like to take a look at what players look like, you can do that. You can see the tournament results and recent results in this tab just by clicking on it as well. That always goes a really long way. You can see that Minwoo has never played here. He's one of those guys with no top 10. There's actually a few of them in the field this week. As I mentioned, Cantlay has no top 10s, but Ryan Fox, Aubert, Højgaard, and Minwoo Lee have never played in this tournament before. And that's, John Rahm won in his first start. So if you believe in the talent enough, they might be well suited for this course. Meronk has only played it the one time, the Meronk-Rola, but that was in the U.S. Open, and it will play a lot differently than it did that year. So that's just a different view that you can take. That's under the cards feature. You can go to the table feature, and it will load up what you're normally used to seeing. But let's take a look at tournament history before we dig too much into anything. As I mentioned before, strokes gained total. The horse for the courses: Finau, Day, Rose, Homa, and Sungjae. Homa won a year ago at -13. That was 2 clear of Keegan Bradley. List won at -15 the year before that in a playoff over Will Zalatoris. Patrick Reed won at -14 the year before that. Mark Leishman just didn't hit any fairways, but missed the fairways by so much that he actually got it into great areas and great angles on stamped down grass. He won at -15. Rose at -21 the year before that. Jason Day at -10 in 2018. One of 2 wins for Jason Day. If we're just thinking about who are the best players overall over the past few years, we can take a look at Jason Day. Top 10 consecutive Farmers. He's gained almost 10 strokes putting between that time, just at the South Course. Sungjae, Hideki, and Rose all up there. That's reflected in the strokes gained total. To take a look at last year, you have Homa, Keegan, Morikawa, Sungjae, Sahith. Poor Ryder. They did that interview with his mom, and that was just the death of him on Sunday. See ya, AB, see ya, Sam Ryder. But he's been pretty good here. He has 2 top 10s in the past 3 years. So a guy to look down. He's going to be very popular on DraftKings this week if the price is good enough. Day, Finau, Hideki, Taylor Moore just outside that top 10 cutoff. But again, you see a lot of bombers do really well here. Although when you go to the top, Homa, Bradley, Sungjae, and Im, we're thinking more accuracy over anything, but they also, so there's 2 kind of skill sets that you can play at this course. You can go pure bombers. I do think that's the path of least resistance here because you can beat up on the par 5s a lot easier with advanced driving distance. However, we've seen like Molinari, who is back in the field this week and did T5 like 2 weeks ago at the first Dubai one. He missed the cut at the second Dubai one. Of note of those guys, I'll talk about that in the field. Skill set wise, let's go back to that for a second. So you have your bombers, path of least resistance, easy stuff. Go on your way. When all else fails, if you can find bombers who actually hit fairways, that's really nice. If you're going to take the fairway players, guys that hit a lot of fairways, there's a few things that you need to look at to work in compilation with that. So you have accuracy players, that's great. Do they also gain strokes off the tee? That is one other thing that you should look at. You'd want these guys to be around like average driving distance. Just slightly above to slightly below, but right in that average key. And that will be reflected in strokes gained off the tee when you take a look at it. Because someone like Brennan Todd hits a ton of fairways, but that's not good at a course like this because he has literally no distance. The other thing to couple together with that is proximity from 200 yards. If you're going to hit it short, you need, although those are much more difficult shots, there's a lot of them at this course, including the par 3s, that if you're a shorter hitter and you do have great accuracy, do you also check the box of great above 200? Let's call it 175 and above. You can be great in those 2 places, especially 200 proximity and above. Then you're playable here, and you could win at this course. I mean, you could always just run super hot with your putter and go along with it too. That can happen. But that's the harder way to do it. But you'd want all three of those things to be true if you're going to go with a shorter hitter. If not, you just go with your distance guys and you're probably off to the races. All right, let's jump back to Fantasy National. And because that's what's happened. Eric Barnes is really interesting, by the way. He's having a decent week this week at the American Express, which is not concluded. You know, great for Dunlop. I hope he doesn't win. I hope if Sam Burns can't win, I hope that Dunlop can win. But we hadn't seen Eric Barnes since the Valspar, and I don't really know what happened to him, to be perfectly honest with you. I guess I could look it up. Eric Barnes official world golf ranking. Was he playing the Asian tour or something like that? I don't know what happened to the guy, but he returned this week and he was actually pretty good. So I thought that was strange. I don't know. Oh, here we go. What has he been doing? Nothing. He's been off. So he's been hurt basically since the Valspar. I guess hurt, or he decided to take time off from golf. He's having a really good American Express in his return and was T13 here a year ago. A lot of that was due to putting, but let's take a look at what old Eric Barnes. Eric is a bad, bad man. But maybe he bombs it off the tee or something like that. We can find that out pretty quickly. Ooh, fast Moose doing some of these renovations to the site, making it a whole lot faster. I like that. And obviously, when you go into some of these sections, maybe you've never gone into these before, but the individual player cards, you can see all of the impact data and things like that rolling through. Let's see, fairways gained, nope. Driving distance gained, yep, to quote Dave Hester. So yeah, I can see why he played well here. So if we can run a hot putter and we can run some driving distance, maybe Eric Barnes is a name that we can come back to. My initial thought of the week is that Keegan Bradley is going to win. So I hope that I hope I don't influence that when I guess the odds later in the show. But he was second here last year. He's had a very good run over the course of his career. And listen, he's just coming off a devastating loss at the Sony Open in a playoff, but he's on a really nice run. And shorter courses, harder courses, weirdly, have always been better. And it's funny that the Sony ended up playing a little bit harder until the final day, and that was the day where he could have ran away with it and didn't. He played better on the more difficult days. Torrey Pines, in general, I think it was last year, he was 1 under Friday, or the first 2 rounds, Wednesday and Thursday, and then Friday and Saturday, he was 10 under over the weekends. So weekend. When I say weekend, you know what I mean. I'm not going to continue to belabor the point, but that's what I mean. And the putter's been coming around. The approach play was good. He hits a lot of fairways. And again, he's someone who's very good from beyond. See, this is, you can just, again, table cards view up on Fantasy National to take a look at it. Anyway, that is the history and the course and the stats of what we've been doing. The field itself, very, very good. Very, very good for this tournament, despite losing its sponsor. You see, Aubert is in the field this time around, but overall you got Homa, Shoffley, Cantlay, Aubert, Morikawa, Justin Thomas, Sungjae, Minwoo, Day, Zalatoris, Keegan Bradley, Eric Cole, Sahith, Rose, Finau, Hideki, Lowry, Straka, Berger, who made the cut. Berger and Zalatoris both made the cut. They're both going to be in the field. Straka is back, Taylor Montgomery, and then you got a bunch of guys coming over from the DP World Tour. Nikolai Hogard is playing in his first tournament on the PGA Tour. Ryan Fox is coming over. Like I said, the Polish Giraffe, Maronkin Rola is playing. Molinari is coming over. So we're getting a really good field. It's a full field, 156, cut after, thank God, the cut is after 36 holes. I hate these 54-hole cuts, but that's me. Other people seem to like them enough. So the field is very strong. I like it, and you can kind of dig in as much as you want. There's that spike percentage I was talking about, the new filter on Fantasy National. Basically what it does, and we'll get to this when we kind of dig around with some of the players, is that you can click on it, and then you can set your strokes gained level to whatever it is that you want per round. So if you're looking for spike putters, like, hey, how often do players gain more than 2 strokes per round on the greens? So you load in spike percentage, and it's going to be low, obviously. Then you go to strokes gained putting. You can see in 4 rounds weighted overall in his career over the past 24, my guy, Artie Dumont de Charret, has gained over 2 strokes putting in half of those 4 rounds. I have this sorted by the past 24. Like Minwoo is up around 40% over his past 24 rounds in terms of spike putting. So sometimes it's really interesting to see, like if you load in putting And then you load in, like if you put them like next to each other, if you just see like, hey, we can go from strokes gained putting and we have it that way, and then we go to average, or we can see that total rounds gained versus the field, and just kind of put down Nick Dunlap. Of course, Nick Dunlap. Do I have the American? No, I have the Farmers. I didn't realize Nick Dunlap was playing again. Everyone's going to play that guy. Why wouldn't you? But you do the spike percentage, and then you see like, oh, some of these guys are like legit terrible putters. However, they gain a bunch when they gain. Like someone like Jake Knapp is somewhere, his per round is, 0.05 gains, so slightly above average, but he gains more than 2 strokes putting over his 14 rounds in around 27, so more than 1/4 of the time. Albeit it is a very small sample. You could really weight that out if you wanted to, but you can do that for approach. I think this helps a lot with showdown purposes, or if you take a look at a particular course and see how guys have done it, and whether you want to hold that for or against someone. I mean, that's really up to you. But that's the way that I really liked using this one. You can go to like, how often do they gain more than 3 strokes? So there's different levels of the spike percentage that you can go to. Wilson Furr. He's no Aaron Burr, but he's Wilson Furr. He WD'd from the Amex. I have no idea why. It was completely random, but here we are with him this time around. Anyway, I just wanted to show off the new spike percentage. We got more and more stuff coming for you, and everything should be a lot easier to use here in the future, the near future, not the distant future. The near future. Let's model up some things going on at Torrey Pines to see how we're doing it. So I have strokes gained in, so it's a new feature. I'm going to go to Torrey Pines. Now you can set your default mode as well. If that's the way that you want to use everything, you just press the pin button up here, and it will pin Torrey Pines up, and we'll go into edit our model. You brought it over from the old collection of everything that we had going on with the modeling. So this is the way that I had it. I'm actually going to enhance fairways again. I'm going to change this around. It hasn't been the best. So ball striking around the green, because the greens at the south course are pretty small versus the north where they're super big. I do think that around the green, because it's a more difficult course, like bogey avoidance around the green, those things pop a little bit more. So I do like around the green. And some of these I have weighted at 0 just so I can see them in the view that I have everything in. But I'm going to drop down ball striking to around 11% or so. And you can do this, in different ways if that's how you want to go into everything, because the new filter goes through it. So we'll drop that to 11, strokes gained around the green. What I really want to do is actually make fairways gained. We're going to put that in. Where do I have driving distance? 21%. I'm going to make fairways gained. Yeah, we'll jump that up to 7%, and we'll drop driving distance down to around 15. So I do want a nice spot. I do want driving distance to mean more, but I don't want fairways gained to mean nothing at the same time. But one thing I do want to do is up this 200%. We'll put that at 10% now. Putting, we got at 5%. Approach at 10%, but we also have ball striking to go along with it at the same time. I'm going to get rid of overall par 4 because I do have par 4 450 to 500 weighted anyway. That key par 3 range also kind of coincides with proximity 200 plus. So I'll just drop that down a little bit just so I can see it. And we'll boost up, the par proximity 175 to 200, boost that up to 3% just to have it in there so I can take a look. Probably too much on around the green. We'll drop that down to around 12%. And that kind of levels everything out. So now we have driving distance at 15%. That's what you can do with the new sliders as well. It will auto adjust everything for you. So I prefer that. I like that a lot more. That puts fairways gained at half of what driving distance is worth, so around 8%. And we have a lot of different approach stats. So approach in itself is weighted at 11%, but we also have 2 proximity ranges at a total of 14%. And then we have, let's see here, and we have ball striking, which is half off the tee and half of driving. So a lot of driving, a lot of that. So let's update the model and load that in and see what our results are going to be for Torrey Pines and this field. We can play around. So what you can see now is your model rank will carry over and your MCM rank, your mixed condition model, will both be visible at the same time. Now, I have nothing loaded into the mixed condition model right now, so everyone comes out the best, except for Aubert. Silly Aubert. I don't know why that's the case, but something to put up there. So the model rank itself, over the past 24 rounds, Torrey Pines model, somehow Eric Cole is number 1. Screw this guy, man. Eventually he's going to have a bad week. Now, he has missed the cut both times that he has played at Torrey Pines. He missed the cut last year, and he missed the cut at the U.S. Open when he played. You can see, the putting is really good. Even the proximity is really good. He runs a hot putter. This we know. Even though he rates out number 1 here, it would be very difficult to trust him in my mind. And it all depends on what his price is. I just think it's going to be elevated, and I think I would rather go in a different direction with some of these guys. Cantlay, he has no top 10s, can't play him. He's number 2. Morikawa, that I could do. We all know that, and the stats finally got rectified. ShotLink was sending us bad info, and they were sending everyone bad info. It wasn't just us. So the Sentry and Sony will have proper stats going forward, but it was a great ball striking week at the Sentry for Morikawa. Dude just couldn't putt. He still came in 5th. I'm the slut for Morikawa, so of course I'm going to, let's see. Morikawa, Keegan, let's keep building up. Sam Stevens is a player that I really like this week. You can see Sam Stevens, he only ranks number 69. Nice. Well, that's even nicer in the modeling. But you can see shorter term, he is 9th around the greens, the driving distance in the top 35 in this field. He was T13 a year ago, and he's off to a pretty decent start to the year. I believe he's having a good run at the American Express. Now, it was all chipping and putting at the Sony, but he did make the weekend, and he didn't lose anything. And that's a shorter course. That's never where you really like him. Where you want to play him are usually at longer courses. Corrales, Valero. I think Wells Fargo was a place where I liked him. Dude just couldn't putt to save his life. Putted very well at the South Course a year ago with 5.3 strokes gained on the greens. I don't know if that's something that he can keep up over time, but longer courses, and if he can run a hot putter is generally where you want to take him. It's been a bad run for him through the swing season, but it does appear like he's getting his mojo, baby, back just a little bit, and that would be very nice to see from someone that. And again, a lot of this is dependent. I would guess he comes in like 200 to 1, 250 to 1. Back for the past 24 rounds, you do have Pendrith, Svensson, Theegala. I'm going to like Theegala this week. Add him to the short list. Morikawa to the short list. Aubert might just absolutely dummy this course. Would like to see his long proximity be a little bit better, but the driving is just so elite and it's so accurate that he may make mincemeat of this place. Zalatoris, Homa, Jägerbombs, Vegas. Vegas has played in this tournament every year since 2011. I actually used him this week and bet him at 300 to 1 at the Amex, a tournament he had won in the past. And of course, he's submarined my DraftKings lineups when he missed an easy putt on the 54th hole, his last hole before the cut, to miss the cut on the number. He's made the cut at Torrey Pines and in this tournament each of the past 4 years, including the U.S. Open, 8 of the past 10 overall. Like I said, he's been played in this tournament every year since 2011. I was going to joke that he's a super old dude, and then unfortunately I went and looked up his age, and he is the same age as me. So I suppose I could start calling myself a super old dude, but in sports, when people have been around forever, it just seems like they're really old. Dude's 38. I'm 38. It's devastating stuff. Yikes. Anyway, that's Johnny Vegas, but he still puts the ball way out there. Minwoo might be awesome at this course. He is first in driving distance and first in putting. And it's not like the approach is bad. He's also first around the green. Like, everything kind of shapes up. He is 152nd in approach. However, 30th from beyond 200 yards, 30th from 157. How does he not rate? It's because he's so bad in approach and fairways. But, oh no, sorry, I had that wrong. I was looking at Luke List, who's right below him, was a former winner here. I was like, yeah, that's fantastic news. But yeah, the approach play has been just ass for Minwoo Lee. But we've seen on the DP World Tour that he can get very hot in those categories as well. So, and he has nothing from the Zozo, the Open, or the Genesis. So realistically, when we're taking a look at his approach, he had a bad Byron Nelson, a bad PGA Championship, and a bad Traveler. Still came 9th at the Travelers. Was actually good at the U.S. Open in terms of approach, relatively speaking. And he was okay at Colonial last year. Bad at the Players, still came in 6th. So weirdly enough, he can have a very bad approach week, yet still do enough of the other thing. Like, he's almost like a lock, except for at the Arnold Palmer Invitational somehow, and a shorter course at the Heritage. Both courses which either have a ton of water or require a lot of strategy off the tee. This one you can kind of grip and rip, and that's great for Minwoo. and it was nice to see him make the cut, make some putts. But if we can get the approach to come along with it, that is fantastic news. And that's why he ranks so lowly in the modeling, mainly because the approach has been so bad. List isn't hitting a ton of fairways, but he is playing good golf at the moment. That's why he ranks 16th. Berger and Zalatoris both. I mean, it was nice to see Zalatoris like ramping himself up. I'm good to be back in on Zalatoris, maybe even Berger as well, after making the cut in his first appearance in 20 months a week ago. Not to say that it's going to continue to go forward. Maybe that there needs to be a consistency. Playing 2 tournaments back to back might not do it for you. Maybe you'll get a little bit tired because your body isn't used to it. But if people are going to sleep on him this time around, now that I've seen it from him and that he can do it, I'm happy to go back to both these guys at this point. Who else rates well up here? Sungjae, champ, does pretty well, second in driving distance, fourth in proximity from beyond 200 yards. He had an amateur put his ball mark in his line this week. I mean, that's always the fun of playing a Pro-Am, and especially the Goober Pro-Am at the American Express. Bhatia might play every tournament this year. If you're drafting underdog best ball, which we do have, by the way, if you go into the tournament selection and go to the drop-down menu. For some reason, that's not appearing on my screen share, but I can see it on my screen. Anyway, Underdog ADP is one of the things that's in there if you want to do your research and look at the latest updated ADP for Underdog Best Ball drafts. Go check that out. Toasty is up there. Big on driving distance, good on proximity, and then the 450 to 300 does pretty well. If we just sort by driving distance past 24 rounds. So let's try to throw in a mixed condition model. I want to put out this sample. What I want to do, just trying to think here, I want to go short term for approach. So that'll hurt Minwoo, but that's just going to be the case. Select an ingredient. Let's just put the model itself in. So we're going to throw the model in past 24 rounds into our mixed condition model. And you can see how that works out right now. That's the only thing that we're going to have. That's great. We'll click off of it and we'll go back to it in a second because we're going to keep this model in, but we're going to go to the past 50 rounds worth of data and try to see if we can cobble together some course conditions. And you'll like the new MCM because when I show you in a second, it will update. It will update right here on the left so you don't have to continuously go back to it. But when you click on it, it will give you all of the specifications of what you have inputted, so you no longer need to label it anything. It will tell you all of the features that you have in there already. So I want to go driving distance, past 50 rounds. Goddard, Champ, Minwoo, Nikolai Højgaard. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if he could come out and get himself a win? He was pretty good over in Dubai. I didn't see what the final result was, but I believe it was T25, T9 in both Dubai. Meronk was T10, T2. Lost to Rory because Rory went nuclear on the weekend. So Højgaard, Tyler McCumber, Callum Tarrant, Aubert, Higo, Vegas, Vince Norman, Will Zalatoris, Matty Schmidt. Guy let me down bigly at the North Course on Saturday at the Amex. 4chan Kim, Keith Mitchell, Woodland, Long Dong, Paul Barjon, Bramlett, Nick Hardy, Chan Yu, that's Kevin Yu, if you're wondering, Toasty, Brem, the Panda, Norman Zong, Taylor Pendrith, Will Gordon, Jake Knapp. Terrible week for people being on him. Eric Barnes is up there as well. Dietrich Fox. We know Fox is a bomber. Then you got Stam Stevens, S.H. Kim, two guys that played really well at this tournament a year ago. Patrick Rogers, Carl Wan, Crazy Carl is up there. Rico Hui. That's only in 4 rounds, though, so I don't know how that's going to work out. Then you got like your JTs and Bradleys of the world. So your elite bombers aren't at this tournament, except for Minwoo, Højgaard, and Aubert. Other than that, it's your middle tier. And maybe that's why we saw last year, now thinking it through, because it was very much the same situation a year ago, why fairways gained went higher than driving distance gained in a lot of the guys that you saw at the very top. Now, Rahm chipping himself out of the tournament probably didn't help that because he was very near the top of the list in terms of driving distance. But that could be a very particular reason that the very elite bombers are no longer playing in this tournament, and more of the hybrid, good distance, great accuracy guys are playing this time around. So just thinking this through, this is why I like doing this research show, because some things, little light bulbs go off, and we can go look that up if we want to. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't care enough to go look at it, but I want to add driving distance past 50 rounds into the mixed condition model. So we're going to put in driving distance in there, and you can see when it pops up now. So last 24 rounds, PGA Tour, Torrey Pines, the model that I have in. So that's the model that I've used. My Torrey Pines model is the stat. Driving distance is the stat. Last 50 rounds overall, PGA Tour only. So now what I want to go do is put in some very specific course conditions. So let's go to... Well, I do have putting in here, so I can make this easy on myself. If you need to find courses now, you just go into the bar, type in Torrey Pines, and then type in what you want, and then apply course filters. Makes it way easier to put everything together, and you no longer have to hold the option button in order to gather a bunch of courses in one, if that's the way that you want to go. So we only have Torrey Pines. You can see that everyone who doesn't have anything is weighted at number 122. I'll get Moose to make that 0 going forward. Again, this is why we're all beta testing everything here. But Torrey Pines South past 24 rounds. So I have past 50 rounds. I want to go past 24 rounds. Hell, let's make it past 12 rounds. So we're not ripping stats from 3 billion years ago with Aaron Badley, just to see. So past 12 rounds from Torrey Pines South. I just want to get the putting numbers in there as well. And we can kind of take a look at how guys have done. So the best putters in the field on an average round basis at this tournament. You have a bunch of like Campos and Schmidt have 1 round apiece. They gained almost 3 strokes. But Eric Barnes in 3 rounds is averaging 2.24 strokes gained putting per round. Knapp only has 1. Sam Stevens, I mentioned, is up there as well. Justin Suh in 7 rounds, 1.3 at Torrey Pines South. And again, there's no shot link at Torrey Pines North. So the only data from Torrey Pines tournament from the Farmers is going to come from here. Will Gordon in 7 rounds, 1.15. Day, Xander, and Badley all with 12 rounds, all over a stroke gain per round on the greens. Eckroat in 2 rounds. Eckroat having a decent week again here. I have no idea how he has played here in his career. I guess he has 2 rounds, so he's probably missed the cut twice. But Farmers, missed the cut. Gained a bunch of strokes in one of the rounds. He probably played terrible at the other one. So those are guys who have done very well here. JB Holmes, Mav McNeely, KH Lee, Sung Jae, Zach Blair, Seb Straka, Brant Snedeker, Pendrith, Merritt, Malnati, Michael Kim, Justin Thomas, Chuck Hoffman, Taylor Montgomery, Gim Reaper, all. Pendrith only has 6, but everyone else in that group has 10 or more rounds at the South Course and have all gained an average of over 0.6 strokes gained positively per round. Even Homa and Morikawa end up on this list. If Morikawa's gaining strokes putting at a place historically, it's only 6 rounds, but it's 0.5, so a half stroke per round is really nice to see. We can also do the spike percentage here. We can go spike percentage over 2. Just call it 2. And we can look up what's going on strokes gained putting wise. That's what we have it sorted by. So guys, again, at Torrey Pines South who have done very well. Sam Stevens, 67% of his rounds, so 2 out of the 3 that he's played, he's gained 2 or more strokes putting on the green. Eckroat's 50-50 in his 2 rounds. Will Gordon, 43% over 7 rounds. Now, guys that are actually super high. So this shows that they have a lot of variance here because Holmes was up there on that list, but he's gained over in his past 12 rounds played. In 5 of those rounds, he's gained 2 or more strokes putting. Same as Zach Blair, 4 out of 10 for Justin Thomas and Matthew Neesmith, who we didn't see up there. He actually loses strokes per round on average at the South Course, but gains 2 or more 40% of the time. When you hover over the number like that, you can see it pop up. Total, he's in the minuses, but has gained 2 or more, so he's had some real bad. Let's go take a look here at what it is putting-wise. Oh, yeah, so 2.4, 2.1, 2.6, 2.2. He also has -3, -1.7, so he is a high-variance swing guy. So that's what I like about spike percentage, taking a look at it. That's why I really want to put that in there. 1 out of 3 for Eric Barnes. McNeely, 4 out of 12 times he gains more than 2 strokes putting. Ditto with Keegan. So different guys that get up there. 2 out of 6 rounds for Morikawa is gaining 2 or more on the green. So again, just different ways. You might not like this one at all, but I'm going to add it to the mixed condition model. We're going to throw in strokes gained putting over the past 12 rounds at Torrey Pines. Again, so you can see that it comes up there. Last 12, strokes gained putting, Torrey Pines South. So that's another thing that we can add into our mixed condition model as we kind of jig everything up. What else can we go here? So let's go Torrey Pines. We can just go history at Torrey Pines. We can go to past 24 rounds, because that's always a good thing to throw in as well. Like when we think about course history, obviously you've seen a lot of the same guys play well here over the years. So if we just go to strokes gained, do I have anything in here? Yeah, I have strokes gained total. So we'll just take strokes gained total from here. So course history, we'll take strokes gained total and throw that in past 24 rounds at Torrey Pines. Strokes gained total, past 24, Torrey Pines South. It's not the tournament itself. If you wanted to do overall strokes gained total, you know what? That's probably, we're going to take that out and I will throw that in. So we're going to type in Torrey Pines again, and we will take in Torrey Pines North and apply the course filters just for strokes gained total, because we do have strokes gained total. It's not like official numbers, but we can just weight everything against everyone else in the field, and we'll take strokes gained total from those two courses. And now we have multiple courses. Those are the two courses that we put in to do it. So last 24 rounds, course strokes gained total, I want to take that one out. And we'll update the mixed condition model as we go through and go along. So the model rank overall, once again, from just these two courses, if we're looking at Torrey Pines only, Day, Finau, Snedeker, Rose, Matsuyama, Keegan, Badley, Sungjae, Holmes, Schauffele are all the ones who pop up in just these three. This is what the model is technically telling us right now, because that's the one that I loaded in when we take a look at strokes gained. So weighting all of those just at these two courses is what we're seeing. So another good way to do so we're going to take those two off as we jump back to different things that we can look at in terms of course condition. We have POA, but the POA is fast, which is unlike most of the other POA courses that we've seen. Let's just take course length, over 7,400 yards. And load in to see who does well on those. Strokes gained off the tee: Vegas, Mitchell, Zalatoris, List, Champ, Cantlay, Finau, Homa, Morikawa, Jason Day, Berger. Like a lot of guys, Taylor Moore is another one who hasn't really played well in ages, but does tend to play better at longer courses. Keegan, so a lot of Griot. A lot of guys with decent course history here. Toasty in only 6 rounds is up there as well. Strokes gained total of that bunch. We have Stevens actually plays the best on these courses. I knew I remembered that from somewhere. Morikawa, Xander, Sungjae, Homa, all guys that have played well at this course. It's not like we have the course filters on anymore. We just have past 24 rounds at courses over 7,400 yards. Let's chuck that into the mixed condition model. We'll put in strokes gained total of 74 and above. So now we have strokes gained total 74 and above. Boom, there we go. Off to the races when it comes down to this. Anything else that we want to throw in? I think that's pretty good. It's difficult to hit fairways, but over 74, we don't need to throw this in. I do just want to look at it with difficult to hit fairways. We can call it difficult and average, actually. Just in case, it plays a little bit easier this year. Who knows? And we can take a look at the amount of rounds. So a lot of people like Aubert doesn't have a ton of rounds in anything like this. Alex Bjelk doesn't have a ton of anything with this. So strokes gained total at courses like that: Xander, Sungjae, Zalatoris, Lantos, Stevens. All guys who have played well. Thomas has played well at this course and then folds on the final 2 rounds. Not entirely sure why. It's actually pretty indicative of guys that play well at this course too. So we'll just throw this one in for funsies. We don't need to weight it a bunch, but we'll just throw in strokes gained total this way as well. So now we've kind of gathered up enough that we can play around with this a little bit more. So Torrey Pines, last 24 rounds. So that's our model, the Torrey Pines model overall. Let's just throw that in here. So the sliders, I like this better. You can view the details if you want to and just really go in and weight them with the ways that you want. But we can do this a little bit easier just by going like boom. If we just want to weight everything around the same, all you have to do is put them like approximately around the same, and it will do all the work for you now, just to give you like a better representation of what's going on. So I don't want the stat model in as much because I've really weighted that myself anyway. Driving distance, I do want to be important of the ones that I looked at. It's probably easier to do this if we go back and just go to Edit MCM. Just so I can get a better sense of what everything is now that we actually have everything in here. So yeah, driving distance past 50 on tour. Let's go 25%. 20% with that is pretty good. Strokes gained putting at Torrey Pines itself. Let's drop that down to like 15-ish%. Strokes gained total, last 24 rounds overall. So the course history number here, we'll call that 15 or so percent, because we do have the putting in there, and that correlates a little bit with guys that have played well. We'll drop that down a little bit more. So past 24 rounds, course is over 7,400 yards. We'll split the difference. So 18%, 19%. You can see this visually on the screen when you're watching this version. So we're going to update the mixed condition model, and then I need, there we go. And it updates itself. So now you can see, and I'm going to switch this back over to the Torrey Pines model rank. So now you can see them all built into one. I love this view when we take a look at it. So we can sort by MCM, and you can see how that correlates with the model that I had up before, the one that we walked through and edited. It's the same one as before. And now you can see both of those views along with the stats that go with it when you build everything up. So I have applied filters into this right now. So I want to get rid of those. So I'm glad it's reminding me at the top, and I can just go to clear all now, instead of individually having to go back and putting in specific courses, specific lengths, whatever it might be. It's just at last 24 rounds now. That's all that's in here. And the mixed condition model is all the conditions that I had before. So mixed condition model versus what we're seeing from the actual model rank. Xander, Theegala, Homa, Cantlay, Vegas, Sungjae, Aubert, Minwoo, Morikawa, Zalatoris, Eric Cole, all finish inside the top 20 in both of those. Now, guys that finish very poorly in the model rank, but the mixed conditions are really good. Justin Thomas is one of those guys, and clearly he decided to show up at the American Express. At least on Saturday, he was inside the top 3 going into the final round, playing in the final group. Goddard gets a lot better. When we put these conditions on, Dietrich gets a little bit better. He was 27th in the modeling anyway, the short-term modeling, but he's 11th in the mixed condition model ranking. You see that Woodland and Harris English. Now, the Woodland stats are from way back, but Harris English plays a little bit better, and that's not including anything that he did at Torrey Pines. Like when we went and did Torrey Pines South and Torrey Pines North, that didn't include the U.S. Open. A U.S. Open in which he came in 3rd place in 2021, putted very well, chipped very well, and the approach was really good for him. So that's interesting to see Harris English. I have no idea how he's been playing. I don't even know if he played this week, Harris English. Let's see how he's doing here. He played Sony. He was 10th. He played the Century. He was 14th. All right, Harris English going on the short list because you can't miss a putt, apparently. Harris English. Let's put a star beside his name. Didn't even think about Harris English coming into the week. Bhatia does better in the MCM rank. Vince Whaley takes a huge leap, as does Chuck Hoffman. Probably wouldn't do that. Sam Stevens goes from 73rd to 25th in terms of those rankings. Champ is top 30 in both, weirdly enough. Lowry gets worse, which actually surprises me a lot because I figured harder courses would be kind of where he would fit in a little bit better. McCumber goes way up. It has a terrible course history here. Who else? Lonto goes way up. How's Lonto been doing? Haven't really been paying attention to him. Hasn't really had a good finish since the Shriners. Before that, it was Valero. Farmers, he was T37 last year. Maybe he gets propped up. Yeah. Farmers, he's come inside the top 10 at least once. Made the cut for it 5 times in his career. So not specifically looking at Lonto, but I do like Keegan Bradley. Worse in the short term in terms of the modeling, better in the mixed condition modeling ranking. You can see S.H. Kim better in the mixed condition as well. Michael Kim, top 25 in both. Good for Michael Kim. Again, pester him to come on the show, especially after coming off a good week at the American Express. Tweet him and tell him he needs to come on the show and break down these courses and give me some real insight. Oh, Eric Barnes pops up there as well. Okay, Luke List is up there. Straka is up there. Wonder who sucks in these things. So in the mixed condition, because not everyone's going to have course history, so they're going to be penalized a little bit for that, not much. In the overall ranking, because their stats would be 0, they wouldn't be in the negative. So it just gives them a neutral look at a lot of these things. But, Seamus Power, he withdrew a week ago, so watch out for him. Blair, just a lot of the shorter hitters just don't do well here. So dry January, Harrison Endicott looked like he was dead in the water. Then I think he shot -11 on Saturday at Palm Beach at PGA West. Silverman, Rye's had a decent run at this course in the past. The model likes him a little bit more. Remember, this is the first time that everyone discovered that he wears 2 gloves when he plays. And then he just folded on the weekend. Shank is someone who shot like -10 at the North course, or maybe it was the South course. once in a blue moon a few years ago. I think it was that same year that Rye was really good. That may have been the year that List ended up winning, but he went on a run and just kind of faded on the weekend. One thing of note, guys that go into the weekend with leads here, they don't tend to last. You can make up significant amounts of strokes on the weekend at this course. But anyway, that's what I wanted to do, going through, showing off some of the new mixed conditioning modeling tools and different ways that you can manipulate everything a lot easier going forward at fantasynational.com/Mayo, by the way, to get yourself that 20% off. And now for everyone's favorite part of the show, when I incorrectly guess the odds. Although, listen, I'm not the best at betting, although I will claim I'm the best if Sam Burns ends up winning at PGA West. The very best, 100% winner rate in a 1-week sample. But it'd be nice having to win like a bunch of money on DraftKings, almost $6K, 2 weeks ago, and then hitting an outright winner would be fantastic news back-to-back weeks. A much better start to the season than I had any of the past 4 seasons. So probably tells you, and Burns is my one and done in the race for the Mayo Cup. So Sam Burns would be too good for me winning. That he probably has 0 chance of winning. Justin Thomas will probably win. That will help no one. Either way. Guess the odds for Farmers Insurance Open. I have it separated into 4 tiers of players. I have the big tier 1 of players. I have Max Homa as the favorite at 12-1, along as a co-favorite with Xander Schauffele, both 12-1. Patrick Cantlay and Ludwig Aubert, both 14-1. Colin Morikawa at 18, along with Justin Thomas. Now, if Justin Thomas wins the American Express, he's probably 14-1. I do think that Homa and Xander will stick as co-favorites of this tournament. Homa coming off the win at this tournament a year ago, and he just wins in California, so let's go. Max Homa, betting favorite Max Homa. Good luck for him. Maybe it won't turn out that way because people love Cantlay and Xander at the top every single week, and that's where they're situated. I do think that Homa and Xander will be the betting favorites because of the course history for Cantlay, or that lack of course history or good results at Torrey Pines at the Farmers Insurance Open will hold him back versus Xander, who's been bad but is a local guy, always gets that narrative, and has popped up a few more times over the past few years in this event. Sung Jae would be the top of the next because of the good course history. He's 25-1. Min Woo Lee, 28-1. Jason Day, very good course for the horse at Torrey Pines South. And the Farmers Insurance Open, 33-1. Zalatoris made the cut at the Amex. Now looks like he's back. It's been a good run for him in this event. 35-1. Ditto with Keegan Bradley. Ditto with Eric Cole. Ditto with Sahith Theegala. Another guy almost like Homa. Good in California. I have them all at 35-1. That's tier 2. Tier 3 in terms of guessing the odds. Justin Rose and Finau Matsuyama all at 40-1. That's where I have the chance to be very, very wrong in this range. Like one of those guys could be like, Finau could be like 22-1. Who knows? Tony's always all over the map with this stuff. Ryan Fox, in his debut in America, did not play in Dubai this week. Played 2 weeks ago. He was one of the few guys in this field taking the week off this week. Besides him, you have Moronk, Nikolai Højgaard, and Francesco Molinari all played this week in Dubai, which Rory ended up winning. Moronk ended up coming in second place. So Fox does have the week of rest on those to get acclimated to the time zone, and he's a huge bomber. I have him at 45-1. I have Højgaard at 50-1, the same as Shane Lowry. Seb Straka, Berger, and List. Berger looked good, making the cut in his first tournament in 20 months. I have them all at 55-1. Taylor Montgomery, Flea Market, 60-1. Adrian Moronk, 75-1, and Francesco Molinari at 175-1. Those are my guesses for the odds. I'll have the updated version of the Guess the Odds in the Mayo Media newsletter. Subscribe to the Mayo Media newsletter. It is completely free to join. It will be sent directly to you and have all of this information and more, including my full-length picks, bets, and course preview. The giant article will all be free in the Mayo Media newsletter. So please go sub to that, check it out, and go tell some friends about it because I need people to discover it. And there's giveaways for actually joining, so you may as well go get that because it takes less than 3 seconds to do. Aight? Smash a like to the episode. Sub to Mayo Media Network. Sub to the podcast as well. fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off. Good luck this week at the Farmers Insurance Open. I shall see you next time.
Mayo experience! Experience!